For a brief moment, it felt like something had slipped through the cracks, because when the words 3I-ATLAS is not a comet started spreading online, people didn't hear caution, they heard confession. Speculation exploded, timelines flooded with theories, and suddenly this quiet object drifting through space became the center of one of the strangest space debates in years. But what actually happened is far more unsettling than the headlines suggested, and it starts with how quickly assumptions turn into beliefs when information is incomplete. When 3I-ATLAS was first detected, astronomers immediately knew one thing for sure: it was not from here. Its speed was extreme, its path didn't line up with anything bound to the sun, and its trajectory pointed straight back to interstellar space, making it only the third confirmed object ever observed entering our solar system from another star system. So naturally, scientists reached for the closest familiar category, a comet. But that label was always provisional, never final, and the data at the time was thin. As days passed, the problem became harder to ignore, because 3I-ATLAS didn't behave like a typical comet at all. There was no obvious glowing cloud surrounding it, no dramatic tail forming as it warmed, none of the visual signatures astronomers expect when ice begins to vaporize. And while that doesn't violate physics, it does raise red flags, especially for an object that supposedly spent billions of years frozen in deep space. That's when outside attention started creeping in. Observers noticed that even as the object moved closer to the sun, its activity remained weak, delayed, almost reluctant, and in astronomy, delayed reactions matter because comets are predictable in one crucial way. Heat triggers response, but 3I-ATLAS stayed quiet longer than models expected, forcing scientists to reconsider whether the original label actually fit what they were seeing. Eventually, the confusion reached a point where clarification became unavoidable, and that's when NASA stepped in to reset the narrative. Not with a dramatic reveal, not with a shocking reversal, but with something far more dangerous for viral headlines: nuance. The agency explained that calling 3I-ATLAS a comet too early had caused misunderstanding. The available data simply wasn't strong enough to support that classification with confidence. And as more observations came in, the wording had to be adjusted. But online, that adjustment landed like a detonation. Posts began framing the clarification as an admission, as if something had been hidden and then quietly exposed. Videos claimed NASA had walked it back. Comments spiraled into speculation about unknown origins, secret knowledge, and suppressed discoveries, when in reality, this was science functioning exactly as intended, updating conclusions as evidence improves, something that happens constantly, just usually far away from public attention. What made this situation different was timing. Because 3I-ATLAS didn't arrive in a quiet scientific moment, it arrived in an era where every correction sounds like a confession, and every update feels like a reversal, where trust in institutions is fragile and ambiguity spreads faster than clarity. So when scientists adjusted their language, the shift didn't feel routine. It felt loaded, as if something had almost been said and then carefully pulled back. Interstellar objects trigger discomfort for a simple reason. They don't belong to our cosmic neighborhood. They aren't leftovers from the same disk of dust that formed our planets. They weren't shaped by the sun's gravity over billions of years. They're outsiders, forged around stars we will never visit, under pressures and chemistry we can't replicate. And when one of those outsiders passes through our system without fitting neatly into our categories, it doesn't just challenge definitions, it exposes how much of our confidence is built on familiarity rather than certainty. That discomfort grows when expectations fail. Scientists have been clear about one thing from the start: there is no evidence that 3I-ATLAS is artificial, controlled, or guided in any way. Nothing in its motion breaks physics. Nothing in its behavior suggests intent. But natural doesn't mean simple, and it definitely doesn't mean predictable. It could be rocky instead of icy. It could be depleted of surface volatiles after eons of radiation exposure. It could contain materials rare or even absent in our solar system. Or it could represent a class of object we've only just begun to notice. Not because they're rare, but because until recently we lacked the tools to see them. And that gap is where unease lives. Because uncertainty invites imagination, and imagination fills silence faster than data ever can. When an object resists easy explanation, People project meaning onto it, not out of fear, but out of instinct. Humans are wired to complete patterns, to search for intention where there may be none. And when science pauses to gather more evidence, speculation doesn't wait. It rushes in to finish the story on its own terms. But in the end, no bombshell was dropped, no secret was revealed, no dramatic truth exposed. Instead, something quieter and more important happened. 3I-ATLAS reminded us that the universe does not owe us instant clarity, that names are placeholders, not answers, that confidence in science is built slowly through correction, not certainty, and that every interstellar visitor is less a threat and more a mirror, reflecting how much we still don't know about the vast space beyond our own solar backyard. And the uncomfortable truth is this: the next one may not fit our expectations either. It may arrive faster, appear stranger, behave differently, and challenge our models even more. And when it does, the real test won't be what it is, but how we respond to not knowing right away. Whether we demand immediate conclusions or allow understanding to catch up with observation. Because discovery doesn't always arrive with answers. Sometimes it arrives with better questions. And 3I-ATLAS wasn't a warning. It was a reminder that the universe is still capable of surprising us, not because it's hiding something, but because we're only just beginning to learn how to look.